I'm a person that is,
There.
you know, if it changes on me, I'm in deep doo-doo, just to let you all know. So, anyway, so, just to introduce Rhonda, um, I have known Rhonda for many years. And I I can't even think when we first met. She has been the Schmetz guru for how many years, Rhonda?
Oh my gosh, this year I'm going on 18 years.
So, so a very long time. So I'm going to say that I actually met Rhonda pre-owning a store when I worked for the Littlefoot Company. So I met her at quilts and quilt shows. And so it is my privilege to have Rhonda be here with us and share all of her knowledge about needles. And so I am going to let you take it away, Miss Rhonda. And what did we decided we needed to do? Okay, you've got your screen sharing. Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah, give me a few minutes and then I'll try to share the screen. So hello everyone. I'm delighted to be here today. Marcia and I saw each other last year in Dallas at Bernina University. So I'm in the Chicago area. This is my conference room, and let's get started. Today's talk will be about 45 minutes. It's in 3 different sections, and at the end of each section, I'll be asking or looking for any questions that you might have. If you've got a question as I'm talking, go ahead and put that in the chat. And Marcia, for anyone that's there in your classroom, you can help me monitor any questions there.
Does that sound good, Tracy? Tracy's good.
Okay, so what's my mission here today? My mission is to elevate your respect for the hardest working 2-inch piece of steel in your sewing machine, the Smets needle. I'm hoping to remove any mystery you might have about the needle while increasing confidence in your needle selection. So for you that are here today looking for a refresher or reminders or just basic needle knowledge, I hope I can cover all of your questions today. So I always like to start with needle anatomy because I believe if you're aware of the parts of the needle and their function, it helps you make an informed decision as to what needle type and size to use. So I always travel with my Smet Super Demo needle. This is 17 inches tall and anatomically correct. So yes, I travel virtually and I'm happy that I'm starting to travel again in person, and I always travel with this needle. So let's look at the parts of the needle. Now my needle's on a little wooden base, but I think even virtually you can see that this needle has a beveled edge. This is referred to as the butt of the needle. And you might think, oh, so what? A beveled edge, what does that mean to me? Stop and think about it. When you go to insert a new needle in your machine, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. So the top of the needle's beveled for easier insertion into your needle holder. Our home sewing machines require a flat shank. 99% of all of our home sewing machines require a flat shank, again, for perfect positioning into your needle holder. We have a little transitional area referred to as the shoulder of the needle. And I hope you've noticed that your Smets needles have either 1 or 2 bands of color. And we'll talk about that Smets color chart that's behind me shortly. We have the length of the needle, which is referred to as the blade of the needle. And what I want to point out about the blade is Smets measures this area here of the needle to come up with the sizes that we're familiar with. Smets, being a German company, they use the metric system. So they measure this area here of the needle, and they'll get a measurement like 0.70, 0.80, etc. They take that physical measurement times 100 to come up with the sizes that we're familiar with. Sizes 70, 80, 90, etc. So now that you know that the size of the needle is based on an actual measurement, it's easier to remember that a size 90 needle is larger than a size 70 needle. So I hope I helped you out right there. On the front of your needle is the groove. You can actually see and feel the groove on your little 2-inch piece of steel. But what's the purpose of the groove? The groove is going to cradle your thread so it moves evenly and smoothly down the length of the needle to the eye. When you're sewing, your thread should not be flip-flopping back and forth. Again, it should move evenly and smoothly to the eye so you get a nice clean stitch. We have the point and the tip, and these change according to different needle types. And on the back side of the needle, above the eye, how many of you have noticed this little indentation? This is referred to as the scarf of the needle. And the scarf has a very important function. When your needle passes through your fabric and your throat plate, the bobbin hook has to come up and catch that top thread in order to create the stitch. So the bobbin hook needs passing room. And the scarf depth, width, and length will change according to different needle. So let me bring up my screen here. Those are your basic parts to your Smets needle, but I do have a slide here that I just want to show you. It might be easier for you to see. So we've got the butt, the shank, the shoulder, the blade, the groove, the point, the tip, and I haven't mentioned the eye yet. And I consider the eye to be one of the most important features to your Smets needle. Your everyday needle, the universal needle, the eye is 40% the width of the blade. But look at the eye of the embroidery needle, and you can see that the eye is wider. And when you look at the eye of the top stitch in metallic, you can see that the eye is elongated. So when you're sewing, what does a larger eye mean to you? A larger eye means there's less stress on your thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle. So if you're sewing and your threads are breaking and shredding, what are you going to do? Well, it's a clue that you need to change out your needle. And if you're just starting your project, maybe you need a different needle type or a different needle size. So I hope I've solved a little situation that we sometimes encounter, threads that break and shred. What are you going to do? Yeah, you need to change out your needle. Let's scoot along and talk about the Smets color chart. You can kind of date some of your Smets needles just by the color chart. The 2 bands of color were instituted in 2014, so keep that in mind. But today I want to make sure you're comfortable reading the chart. So on the left-hand side of the chart, the column is labeled needle type. And all of the Smets home sewing machine needle types are listed, and many are assigned a color. On the right-hand side, the column is labeled needle size, and all of the Smets needle size are assigned a color. Now look at the 2 color bands between on the needle. The top color band on your needle identifies your needle type. So on this sample here, the top color band is yellow. So we look off to the left under needle type and we find yellow is a stretch needle. Back to our needle, that lower color band is kind of a rosy pink color. So that identifies your needle size. So we look off to the right under needle size and we find that color is a size 7511. So this sample here is a stretch 7511. But let me walk you through a couple other examples. My favorite go-to needle for all kinds of sewing, piecing, quilting, etc. is a Microtex. Microtex. Size 8012 is my favorite size. So for Microtex 8012, what would the 2 color bands be? Well, we look off to the left under needle type and we find Microtex is purple. And for size 8012, we look off to the right under needle size and we find 8012 is orange. So Microtex 8012 has a top color band of purple and a lower color band of orange. One more example would be, what if my needle has two bands of orange? Two bands of orange. What needle type and size would that be? Well, we look off to the left under needle type and we find orange is a jersey needle. And we look off to the right under needle size and orange is still a size 8012. So two bands of orange would be a jersey size 8012 needle. Now, lots of information here, but there's one other thing I want to point out about the Smets color chart, and that is under needle type. And the very first needle type listed is a universal needle, but there's no color. In fact, the box is X'd out. So what does that mean? Universal needles will have only one band of color, and that's to identify your needle size. So if you have a universal size 8012 needle, well, you have just a single band of orange. If it's a universal size 9014, you have just a single band of blue. So I hope this chart helps you identify your needles by needle type and size, especially after you've taken them out of your needle pack. Okay, next let's scoot on up and look at your physical needle pack. There's lots of information here, and I want to make sure you're comfortable with all the numbers. So currently, at the bottom of your needle pack, you find the needle size. Or on this sample here, we have assorted needle sizes. We have sizes 7010, 8012, and 9014. And I think most everyone recognizes needle sizes. But how many of you have looked at that number above the size and wondered, what the heck does 13705H mean? Well, don't let that number intimidate you. That is referred to as your needle system. Think of it as a model number. 13705 means that the needle has a flat shank. And the H translates from a German word that means scarf, this little indentation on the backside of the needle. Needle system 13705H is a flat shank needle with a scarf that 99% of all of our home sewing machines require. So don't let that number intimidate you. Think of it as a model number, but you know what? That number is important. Especially if you work with a serger, you might use a different needle system like ELX 705. Or maybe if you have a long arm machine, you might use a different needle system like 134R or 135X5 or 135X17. Those are all different needle systems for specific machines. But needle system 13705H is a flat shank needle with a scarf that we use in 99% of all of our home sewing machines. Above the needle system line, you've got the needle type spelled out. So these are universal needles. Above that is the Smets name. And above that, through the clear packaging, you can see the color bands. So from the Smets color chart, we learned that the lower color bands, such as green on these first two needles on the left-hand side, are size 7010. The next two needles to the right have that single band of orange, orange for size 8012. And the needle on the far right has that single band of blue for size 9014. So lots of information on your little Smets needle pack. But let's look at one other pack of needles. Again, currently, at the bottom of your needle pack is the needle size. So this is size 9014, or these needles are size 9014. Above that, you've got the needle system. So this is 13705H, which is a flat shank needle with a scarf that we can use in 99% of all of our home sewing machines. But look at that needle system line just a little bit closer, because on this sample here, there's an additional letter. Here it says -E, E for embroidery. On some of your other needle packs, you might find a -J for jeans, or Q for quilting, or M for microtext. So lots of information on your needle system line. Above that, you've got the needle type spelled out. So these are embroidery needles. Above that, you've got the Smith's name. And above that, again, through the clear packaging, you can see the color bands. So the top color band on each of these needles is red. Red for embroidery, just like what that Smith's color chart showed. And the lower color band is blue. Blue for size 9014. So lots of information here. And if you stop and think about it, it's a lot of redundant information. So I hope I've removed some of the mystery you might have about all the information on your little Smith's needle pack. Okay, so this is a good time to look for any questions, and I don't see any questions that have come in. So let me just scoot along. Marcia, do you have a question? You're okay? Okay. Well, let me just scoot along. I've got some more slides because next I want to talk about specific needles. Let's start with the most popular needle type. What do you think that is? And I bet most of you know or would guess that the universal needle is the most popular needle. Universal needle has a slightly rounded point. It works well with both woven fabrics and with knit fabrics. The universal needle is also available in the widest range of sizes, from the smallest size 60/8 all the way up to a size 120. Plus, universal needles are available in twin and triple needles too. What do you think the most popular universal size is?
80.
Universal size 80/12, followed by universal size 90/14. So no matter what kind of sewing you do, I always suggest you have universal 80/12 and 90/14 in your stash. So next I want to talk about specific needles for piecing and for quilting. 5 popular needle types for piecing and quilting. So you can jot these needle types down if you're taking notes today. So, and I'm not presenting these in any specific order. So, yes, the universal, very popular for piecing and quilting. Lots of famous quilters use the universal for piecing and for quilting. But I want to make sure you're aware of other needle types that are popular for piecing and for quilting. One needle is the jeans needle, also known as a denim needle. Does that surprise you? Well, how many of you like to make jeans quilts? Or maybe you like to make flannel quilts or those heavy duty raggy quilts. So you need a hardy needle that's up to the task. So what's so special about the jeans needle? The jeans needle has a reinforced blade. A reinforced blade, so when the needle passes through your denser or your heavier fabrics, there's less needle deflection, less movement of the needle when the stitch is created. So the jeans needle is a wonderful needle when you're making jeans quilts, flannel quilts, or those heavy duty raggy quilts. Another needle popular for piecing and quilting is the top stitch needle. And as we learned earlier in that diagram about the eyes of the needle, the top stitch needle has that elongated eye. So there's less stress on your thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle. Another needle, well, just as the name suggests, is the quilting needle. But don't let that name fool you. This needle is used for both piecing and for quilting. What's so special about it? It's specifically engineered with a tapered point. A tapered point for piecing and for quilting. You'd probably use the smaller size 7511 for the piecing of your project and the larger size 9014 for the quilting of your project, the quilting needle. And one more needle type popular for piecing and quilting is the microtext needle, generically known as a sharp needle. So when your books and patterns say use a sharp needle, well, they're referring to a Smets Microtex needle. So what's so special about this needle? The Microtex needle has a very slim acute point. Very slim acute point. So with the Microtex needle, you get the most precise stitches. And because the Microtex needle has that very slim acute point, guess what? The Microtex needle is going to dull quicker than any of your other needle types. So you will need to replace your Microtex more frequently than any other needle type. The other thing I want to mention about the Microtex needle is how many of you like to sew, piece, or quilt with batik fabrics? I love batik fabrics, but even if you pre-wash your batik fabrics, oftentimes the fabric will still be tightly woven and may still have dye residue. But the Microtex needle can just pierce through that batik fabric beautifully. So I always suggest the Microtex when you're working with batik fabric. So in review, 5 needle types popular for piecing and quilting is the universal, the workhorse of all needle types, available in the widest range of sizes, with twin and triple needles too. This needle has a slightly rounded point. You've got the jeans needle, also known as a denim needle. This needle has a reinforced blade so it can stitch through those heavier or denser fabrics easier. You've got the top stitch needle with the elongated eye, so there's less stress on your thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle. The quilting needle, just as the name suggests, is used for both piecing and for quilting. You'll probably use the smaller size 7511 for the piecing of your project and the larger 9014 for the quilting of your project. And last but not least is the Microtex needle, generically known as a sharp needle. This is also a great needle for batik fabrics. Use it when you're looking to stitch with precision. So guess what? Marcia has these already bundled up for you. Yay! Yes, Marcia has these available in the store. Each bundle comes with the ever popular Smets ABC Pocket Guide, which is the foundation for today's presentation. Plus, the bundle includes a handy little luggage tag. And I travel with that luggage tag all over the country or all over North America. It includes the Smets collar chart. And I will say about that luggage tag, it's a great way to meet people. I put that luggage tag on my tote when I fly, and sometimes people in the waiting room will go, "Oh, do you sew?" And then it starts up a conversation. So add that color chart to your totes while you're traveling, or hang it in your sewing room. So yes, the piecing and quilting bundle, Marcia has these for you today. Now let's scoot along because I have some other needles that I want to talk to you about. And how many of you like to sew with knits? When I first learned to sew with knits, I learned with double polyester. How many of you remember double polyester? Well, knits have come a long ways, and there's wonderful knit fabrics that are available today. And part of the success of sewing with knits is using the appropriate needle. So there are 2 needle types you must have when you're sewing with knits. And the first is the jersey needle. The generic name for a jersey needle is a ballpoint needle. The jersey needle has a medium ballpoint. The other needle that you want when you're sewing with knit fabrics is a stretch needle. And guess what? The stretch needle also has a medium ballpoint. But when you compare the stretch to the jersey needle, the stretch needle has a smaller eye and a deeper scarf. So now your stretch needle is going to play just a little bit differently with your fabric and your thread and your technique. So if you're sewing with knits, well, how do you know? Do you use a jersey or a stretch needle? Well, there is a rule of thumb that works about 80% of the time. If your knit fabric has lycra, spandex, or elastic, you're going to use the stretch needle. If it's just a regular knit fabric, use the jersey. Sometimes jersey and stretch needles are interchangeable, but not always. So again, if your fabric has lycra, spandex, or elastic, use the stretch needle. If it's just a regular knit fabric, use the jersey needle. So guess what? Marcia has these needles already bundled up for you. The jersey needles are available in assorted sizes. And then there's one pack each of the stretch needle. The stretch needles in size 7511 and also a pack in size 9014. These little bundles, again, include the ever popular Smith's ABC Pocket Guide and the handy little color chart on the luggage tag. Okay, let's see, let's scoot along because I next want to talk about the Super Nonstick Needle. Now, if you don't know about this needle, well, that's why I'm here today, is to help keep you informed. This needle was introduced right before the pandemic. So if you don't know about it, don't feel bad. Again, that's why I'm here today. So the first thing you're going to notice about this needle is the color. It's kind of a gunmetal color or charcoal gray. And that is the anti-adhesive coating. But this needle has two other special characteristics. The blade is reinforced. A reinforced blade, so there's less needle deflection when your stitch is created. This super nonstick, super universal needle also has an enlarged eye, so there's less stress on your thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle. So great features to this needle. When are you going to use it? Well, how many of you like to do machine embroidery or machine applique? This is a great needle to use because oftentimes you're working with a stabilizer that sometimes when you're sewing so fast and so long, the stabilizer has a tendency, the adhesive has a tendency to warm up and gum up your needle. So if you do machine embroidery or machine applique, this is a great needle to use when you're using those stabilizers, spray adhesives, or any of the fusibles. If you like to do, let's see, if you like to sew on oilcloth or splash fabric, or how about sewing on vinyl? Yeah, when you're sew on vinyl, what happens? The vinyl gets warm, and then the vinyl has a tendency to hug your needle, and then you can't see where you're sewing. So using the super nonstick is a great needle choice when sewing on vinyl. And one other opportunity to use the super nonstick, well, how many of you use Velcro or hoop and loop tape? And that's always kind of a challenging fabrication. I always think of it as an odd fabrication because it's sticky on one side, crispy on another, and kind of fuzzy in between, which makes me think it must be lunchtime. I think I need a snack. It sounds like a candy bar. Anyway, the super nonstick is great when you're working with Velcro. So, and how many of you like to make by Annie patterns? You know, I love her patterns. She makes wonderful totes and bags, and the super nonstick is a wonderful needle to use when you're doing by Annie projects or any of those tote bags, canvas bags, etc. Or anytime you're working with sticky stabilizers, spray adhesives, etc. Machine embroidery, machine applique. So the super nonstick, super universal is available in 4 sizes. Sizes 70, 80, 90, and 100. And that size 100 is really great when you're working with heavier projects. So guess what? Marcia has these already bundled up for you so you can test them out yourself. So sizes 70, 80, 90, and 100, one pack of each, 5 needles per pack. along with the Smets luggage tag with the color chart and the ever popular ABC pocket guide. Okay, now that leaves one other category of needles that I want to talk about today. And how many of you like to do machine embroidery? Machine embroidery, you've got choices for machine embroidery. So I want to talk about 3 needles popular for machine embroidery. We've got our classic machine embroidery needle. This needle has a chrome finish. This needle has an enlarged eye for less stress on your thread as it's passing through the eye of the needle. Another choice for the embroidery needle is the Smets Gold needle. This is a titanium nitrate coated needle. Titanium helps give the needle strength and also helps to keep the needle cooler when you're sewing. So the Smets Gold embroidery needle is the titanium needle. And one other choice for your machine embroidery that I just mentioned is the Super Non-Stick needle. This needle comes in 4 sizes. Again, it has that anti-adhesive coating, so all your sticky stabilizers and fusibles won't adhere to your needle. So 3 great needle choices for machine embroidery. And yes, our friend Marcia has these already bundled up so you can test each kind. Now you might be wondering, why do I need 3 different types of needles? Well, you know what? Sometimes our fabrics and our threads have personalities, and maybe they'll like one needle type over another. So maybe the regular embroidery is your favorite needle, but maybe on a certain project, maybe you're not getting the stitch quality that you like. So try that Super Non-Stick needle. So I always like to say with Smets, you have options. So again, all of these bundles, all these needles that I've shown you here today, Marcia has them bundled up. And I'll talk about the little ABC pocket guide in a few minutes after I finish all of my slides. So let's see. Marcia made a comment. She said it's an interesting fact that the Microtex needle, oh yes, has that very slim acute point, and you do need to change it more often because it does dull quicker than any other needle type. So thanks for making that comment. Okay, so I have to tell you that since the pandemic, I have given over 350 Smets presentation, and probably over 300 of those were virtually. I'm starting to travel again as of last year. And there's always a popular question. And maybe it's a question that you've asked yourself. And what do you think that question is? The question is, how long does your needle last? Well, let me answer it this way. I'm going to answer it a couple different ways. First of all, this is the easy answer. Needles don't last forever. They get dull with use. And these needles here are really nasty looking needles. They've been overused. That needle on the left-hand side looks like it has a twin mountain peak. The needle on the far right looks like a cutting blade. So what are these nasty looking needles going to do to your fabrics? Yeah, they're just going to eat up your fabric. So what are you going to do? Change out your needle. The needle is a simple repair that you can do yourself. You don't have to bring your machine into the tech to change out your needle. The needle is not a permanent machine part. So have a little stash of needles off to the side. If you're like me, I do most of my sewing like at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I can guarantee that's when I need a new needle. So have some needles handy so you can switch them out. This is one of my favorite pictures in today's presentation because this is the same needle in every frame. This needle has been used and abused, but when you look at it on the left-hand side, with our naked eye, it looks like a sharp needle, right? But as we move to the right with increased magnification, you can see, oh my, that needle really is dull. You can't see that with your naked eye. And when you look at that needle on the far right-hand side, oh, Look at that super burr. Look at that super lip and all those burrs and striations. So what's that needle going to do to your fabric? Yep, it's just going to eat up your fabric. So what's the solution? Change out your needle. So yeah, needles get dull with use. So let me stop the screen share right here. Let's just talk about that for a little bit. How long does a needle last? I don't know. Could be 3 seconds if you hit a pin right away, right? And I know when you hit a pin, your first reaction is, oh my gosh, I just bent the needle. And maybe you did. But I guarantee if you just hit a pin, what you did is you just compromised the point and the tip of the needle. So what are you going to do? You're going to change out your needle. Maybe you can get 20 hours of sewing time if you're not a very aggressive sewer. 3 seconds, 20 hours. Ooh, that's quite the time span, right? So I know that people like to average out the sewing time to 6 to 8 hours of sewing time. But how many of you have tried to time yourself? It's impossible to time your sewing time. I've tried several times. It's impossible. So rather than ask, how long does a needle last? What I want you to do is reframe that question to, what are the clues to changing out your needle when you're sewing? What are the clues to changing out the needle when you're sewing? Well, we kind of touched upon one clue already, and that's when your thread is breaking or shredding. So what are you going to do? Change out your needle. What you may not know is if you're not changing your needle out frequently enough, the thread will actually create a groove in the eye of the needle. And that's not a good thing. A groove in the eye of the needle, what's it going to do? Break and shred your thread. So what are you going to do? Change out your needle. What's another clue? What's happening to your fabrics when the stitch is created? Are your stitches puckering? Is your fabric puckery? Is the needle leaving a big hole or eating a hole in your fabric? Is your fabric snagging? Or in a really severe case, your needle hits the fabric and is tucking the fabric into the throat plate. So hello, that is a clue that you need to change out your needle. And what's happening while you're sewing? What's happening to your thread? Are your stitches skipping? Are your seams uneven? Or maybe you're sewing in a straight line and you're going, why do my stitches look kind of wiggly squiggly? Well, guess what? Your needle is dull. So what are you going to do? Change out your needle. And then there's one other clue to changing out your needle. Hopefully, when you're sewing, your machine is humming along. You know, you're in that sewing bubble. Your machine is humming along. And then you start to hear that little click, click, clicking sound. What is it? Oh, it's your needle saying, oh, I've been working hard here. Change me, change me. If you ignore the clicking sound, what happens now? It graduates to a pop, pop, popping sound. Now your needle is yelling at you. Hey, change me, change me. If you ignore the clicking and the popping, now what's happening? You hear clunk, clunk, clunk. Your first inclination might be, oh, something's wrong with my machine. Maybe. But even if you took your machine into the tech, what's the first thing your tech is going to ask? Hey, when's the last time you changed your needle? So, yes, changing out the needle can make a world of difference in your stitch quality. So today, I'm not here just to sell you more needles, but I really want you to have a successful sewing experience. So stop and think about it. You've spent a lot of money on your machine or your machines, right? You spent a lot of money curating your stash, even those hidden fabric stashes. You spent a lot of money collecting beautiful threads. And what about all that money you've spent on books and patterns, lectures, workshops, retreats? Oh yeah, you you don't those don't come for free. And stop and think about your sewing time. Your sewing time is an investment too. So, from your machine to the fabrics to the thread to your time, stop and think about it. Let's complete that investment right down to the hardest working 2-inch piece of steel in your sewing machine, which is also the least expensive, your Smets needle. So again, the needle does not last forever. You want to complete that investment cycle. So when you're making your quality projects, you need to remember the clues to changing out the needle. Now, let me just, oh, okay. So I know because I too love to sew and quilt, and I do a lot of projects. And sometimes I know, probably like you, that we juggle projects. So maybe you started a quilt, maybe you're using a quilt 7511 needle. And now you want to make, let's say, a quick gift for a little kiddo. You're going to make a t-shirt. You want to use the stretch 9014 needle. So you've taken that quilting needle out and you've set it aside. How do you know that that needle is still sewing worthy? Maybe you didn't use it very much. Well, when you go to use it again, you're wondering, should I have thrown that needle away or is it still sewing worthy? Well, here's a little two tips for you. You can take that slightly used needle and run it across your fingernail. If it leaves a scratch on your nail, well, guess what? You've got a burr and you need to toss that needle. If you've got a pair of old hose, and I'm going to tell you, since the pandemic, I am never wearing pantyhose again. So I've got hose. I'll wear tights, but I'm not wearing hose anymore. Take your old hose, or maybe you've got a scrap of knit fabric, run the needle across your fabric. If it snags your fabric, you know you've got a burr and you need to toss it. So that'll help you determine whether your needle is still sewing worthy. One way to keep track of your slightly used needle is with a product called the Grab-It MyPad. Many of you are probably familiar with Grab-It magnetic pin cushions that collect all your little straight pins. Well, I love that product so much that 10 years ago, I went back and I said, hey, it's a great product. You need to buy that company. And guess what? They did. And one of the products that they had, which was kind of a sleeper product until about 2 years ago, is the Grab-It MyPad Needle Organizer. This is a great way to organize your slightly used needles. This is what the header looks like, and Marcia has it in the store. It might be hanging on the notions wall. So let me tell you what this is about. It measures, I believe, 7.5 inches. It's an extra thick piece of felt. And then we imprint all of the different Smets needle types on here. I updated this about 2 years ago. So now all of your Smets home sewing machine needles are on here using the Smets color chart. So blue for jeans, green for quilting, red for embroidery, etc. Then within each needle type, you'll find a cell for the different needle sizes. So embroidery needles come in 2 different sizes, plus there's a twin embroidery needle too. So you've got a cell for each needle size. Universal has the widest range of sizes available, so it has the most real estate on this little pad. So just slide your slightly used needles right here into the appropriate needle type and size. The Grab-It MyPad needle organizer also comes with a little flower head pin. This little flower head pin are for needles that maybe are not color coded. Maybe you inherited some Smets needles. I know I've inherited Smets needles that were made before 2014 that don't have any color coding. So once I take that needle out of the needle package and put it in my machine, then I just slide this little flower head pin into the appropriate needle type and size. So at home, I've got a lot of variety of needles in my little Grab It my pad. So keep that in mind. Let me go back to my slides because I have an even better picture of that I can share with you. Whoops, where is it? It says, oh, can you see that screen? Because I can't. Let me try that again. Stop and screen share. There we go. All right. All right. So here's a picture of the Grab It MyPad needle organizer. So you can see that just a little bit better. And Marcia has that in the store. I keep mine just standing next to my light source off to the right-hand side of my sewing machine. So keep that in mind. It's a great gift item too for someone that sews. Okay, so we have just covered a lot of information here today. I have just a few more slides. So when you go into the store, you want those Smets bundles. You also want that little Smets ABC pocket guide. And yeah, I will talk about it shortly. But I want to take you to smetsneedles.com because there's a lot of free information here. So this is what our header looks like on our website. It's smetsneedles.com, all one word, smetsneedles, all one word.com. And I hope you can recognize now those 5 needles on the upper right-hand side. They've got different color bands. Can you identify them? Now that you're aware of the color chart. When you scroll down, you're going to see what needle am I. When you get the Little Smith ABC Pocket Guide, can you identify the needles that are on the cover? A lot of people can't. So we've identified all of the different needle types right there on your Little Smith's ABC Pocket Guide. And I want you to take close look at the eyes and the points and the tips. You know, some of the differences between the needle types are really slight, but they make a world of difference in your sewing quality. Off to the right-hand side in that blue block, you see, click here for the free web app. So yes, we do have a free web-based app. When you click that link, you go to our resource page, and this is what it looks like. You see the cover of the ABC Pocket Guide with that circle of needles. You can download that and print it out yourself, but it's not going to be as cute as the one that Marcia has in the store. You can also print out the Smets color chart, but again, it's not going to be as cute as the color chart that Marcia has on that luggage tag with the Smets bundle. But the third item underneath that ABC Pocket Guide is the free web app. When you click that, this is all the free information that you get. And we don't do any advertising, so you're not going to get a bunch of pop-ups, but you get the ABC Pocket Guide, the digital version. So all the images that I've shown you here today are in the little ABC Pocket Guide. There's a 2-page spread that talks about the points of the needles. Of course, that picture of the eye of the needle and how to read the needle chart are in the ABC Pocket Guide too. So you can download this onto your phone, your laptop, or your computer for easy access. Also in the app is a list of over 100 fabrics with suggestions for needle type and size. So now that you don't have to remember what needle type and size to use for cork or bamboo or some of the newer fabrics. The Smets color chart is in the app. And also there are links to some of the popular thread companies with their specific recommendations for needle type and size. So lots of free information on the website and also in the free app. So if you're quick enough, you can, in theory, you can take a picture of this QR code and just download it on your phone right now. It doesn't matter if you've got iPhone or Android, it's going to download. But I would go to the website and download it. Okay, so let me wrap up things here. On the first Wednesday of every month on our website, on Smets Needles Facebook and also on YouTube. I do a SMET snippet live. It's about 45 minutes. Depending on where I'm going to be, if I'm going to be right here in the Chicago area on Facebook, I'll post, hey, do you have any questions? I usually post like on a Monday or a Tuesday. Do you have any questions that you want me to answer live? And then I'll go in and collect the questions on Wednesday morning and answer them live. So I talk about different projects and things that are going on in Smets land. So you're free to join. We get people from all over the world that pop in, and it's a lot of fun. Next Wednesday, which is the first Wednesday of the month, I'll be in Florida at another Bernina dealer. I'll be in Naples, Florida, at Flash Sew and Quilt. So I'll be live in their store and probably talking to their owner and taking a look around their store. So stay tuned for that. It should be a lot of fun. Also, just to bring you up to date, and I'm not sure Marcia knows this, but I'm going to just spill the beans right now. We have 2 new needles that are soon will be available. The Smets Gold Jeans needle is a titanium needle. Titanium gives extra strength to your needle and also helps to keep the needle cooler when you're stitching. This needle also has an enlarged eye. So I've actually, even though these are brand new, I have tried the Smets Gold needle already, and I was sewing on some nylon strapping. So you might keep that in mind if you're working with some heavier projects. The other needle that you'll soon see, probably in April, I would guess, is the Smets Black Superfine. That needle has the anti-adhesive coating. It'll be available in just the one size 70. So if you're working with delicate fabrics, or maybe you're doing embroidery on some delicate fabrics, that would be a great needle to select. So I'm just keeping you updated. You're ahead of the curve about knowing about these 2 needles. So my name is Rhonda Pierce. I represent Smets Home Sewing Machine Needles in North America. I do have a personal blog called SewMoreStitches.com, and to tell you the truth, since International Quilt Market and Festival in October, where I was attending and teaching, etc., I've been cocooning. So I've just been in overload. So in the next few days, I will update my personal blog. So you can, but if you can't wait, you can go in and just search sewing, and you can see the sewing that I've done through the pandemic and some more updated things. But I'll be blogging again soon with projects, and next week with when my travels start again. So I'm not selling anything, but I do document my sewing projects. So you are, if we cross paths, I would love to know what your favorite Smets needle type and size is. In fact, I think what you should do is when we finish up, you need to let Marcia know what your favorite needle type and size is. So I want to thank each of you for being here today. I know we've all got things to do and meals to prep, etc. But it's my pleasure to keep you informed about Smets needles. I know that for some of us, maybe we've been sewing for decades and we knew we needed a needle, but oftentimes I find we get sidetracked by all those beautiful fabrics and the designers and the patterns and designs, etc. But you know what? You just can't sew without a needle. So I want you to buy your Smets needles from Marcia. She's got those special bundles already made up for you. And again, Marcia, thank you for inviting me here today. And if there's any other questions, I don't see any in the chat. So
I have a question real quick.
Oh, okay.
So do you have, say like these 2 needles coming out, do you have like little quick projects that you could do to try out that new needle without having to do like a huge project?
That's an excellent idea, but you know what? I delegate that to the machine dealers.
Okay.
Okay,
I
I think I think it sounds like I'm hearing that maybe we better plan something for the new needle that's coming in.
Well, thank
You know,
you.
it's possible. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I might have done something with that. I don't recall, but yeah, my plate is pretty full too. So I'm just gonna dish it back to Marcia.
Okay. Okay.
Well, we'll see what we can come up with because you know, anytime we learn something, which did you all learn something today?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
So it was well worth popping in here and watching, wasn't it?
yes.
All right. So
Awesome.
do any of you have any other questions or anything? Are we all good?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you know what? Okay, that's why you want to get this little ABC pocket guide. I didn't talk about
Yep.
this. So you want to look at the cover. Try and identify the needle types. You might be like the most identifiable one is this one right here. This is the
Hemstitch.
hemstitch needle, also known as a wing needle. And I think most everyone. So there's an index for the different needle types. We've got a 2-page spread so you can see the different needle points. And then there's a listing of what needle type has that specific
Wonderful.
point. We've got I can't see here. Let me move things around here so I can see your needle anatomy. We've got the eyes of the needle. So you don't have to remember that the embroidery needle has a wider eye and the metallic and the top stitch have that elongated eye.
Right, right.
But in this little brochure, the most important part is right here, page 7, the eyes and clues to change the needle. So I hope I've confirmed that needles do not last forever. You've got the Smith color chart. We've got that image of how to read the needle pack. And then we photographed all the different Smith needle types. We tell you what sizes are available, what the special features are, uses, etc. At the back of this, we've got an alphabetical listing of an alphabetical listing of fabrics with needle type and size recommendations. So there's more in the app, but this will get you started right here in the little ABC pocket guide. So
it's a wonderful resource.
yeah, I mean, I've overwhelmed you with lots of information, and there's no way that anyone can really remember it all. So use that guide and download the app. And you know what? Marcia is a wonderful source. She and her staff are educated, so use them as a resource too.
Okay, we have one question from Kat, and she noticed the spring needle in the back, and it's like, oh my gosh, what is that?
Okay, so in the little ABC pocket guide, we've got all of the needles that are available for your home sewing machine. And one of them is called the spring needle. What is this? It's a regular needle. It comes 5 different ways. There's universal, quilting, stretch, embroidery, and a denim. So regular needle. And then it has a little spring. It kind of about the size of a spring that you might find in a ballpoint pen, but look at the shape of it. It's conical. It's narrower at the bottom and wider at the top. And then there's a little plastic stopper at the top and at the bottom. This needle was initially designed for older sewing machines that did not have all of the fancy feet. This needle is used primarily for free motion embroidery, free motion quilting, etc. I will be right up front with you. It is no longer one of the most popular needles, but for our older machines that don't have all of the fancy feet, this is quite helpful. So what happens when you're sewing, you need to remove the foot. And as you're stitching, then because of the little stopper here, you can see where you're stitching. That will help control where your stitch is going and where you can see. So I think many of the different, the newer sewing machines that I know, Baby Lock and Bernina, have a wide array of feet that are probably better than this one, but now you know.
Well, I think the
my
thing that seeing something like that helps people to realize that the Schmetz Company is really trying to make sure that they have something for everyone, because
Yes.
not everyone has a brand new machine or even a machine that's 10 years old. There
Right.
are people that fall in love with their machine that they have, and it may be a 30-year-old machine
Yep.
that doesn't have all of the bells and whistles that our newer machines have. And it's nice to know that Schmetz is trying to take care of those folks if they want to do any kind of free motion embroidery or
Yep.
stitching like that. So I think that
Exactly.
I love that's in here.
Oh, and speaking of,
Oh, uh-oh, she froze. Rhonda, you froze on us. Oh, no. Hmm. Well, oh goodness. Are you all frozen as well? Everybody's frozen.
maybe I'll see you again. So thanks everybody for using Smets needles.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Mute.
Let's see. All right. Sorry, guys. I guess we lost internet connection for a moment. So anyway, I really hope that you all learned something. I know I did. And so if you have any questions, please let us know. And just remember that the needle bundles are available, and this has been recorded. So we will definitely have that for we can send that out if you're interested. All right. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you here in the store.
Thanks,
Bye.
Marcia.
Bye.